Everyone, welcome back to Absolute Comics, the show where I get together with my pal Sal, and we chat about comic books and the news that is going on in the world. Today we're going to be talking about a few topics that popped up, and we're going to be talking about Batman and Chip Zdarsky's run and our opinions on it and what's going on with it. But don't forget, today's episode is brought to you by Comic Pop. If you want to see more of Sal's discussions, go check out Sal's primary channel, Comic Pop, and Comic Pop Returns. It's also brought to you by GamerSupps. Use the code comics to get those right there. Dan, enhance! And enhance! All right. But yeah, seriously, go check out. I don't think we ever, because we have an audience that just watches Absolute Comics, and they don't. I get a kick out of it, but you guys aren't aware that he's Comic Pop and I'm Comic Historian. We have other channels.
That's true.
So anyway, let's talk about the news. X-Man Iceman to get his own comic series during the Fall of X event later this year, called Astonishing Iceman by Steve Orlando and art by Vincenzo. Vincenzo.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I haven't pulled it up. There's actually, the Fall of X has dropped a bunch of different titles that include the Iceman book. The thing that I'm most excited about, because Steve Orlando's doing an Iceman book. Cool.
Yeah, the problem with Iceman is there's nothing really interesting about Iceman. I've never, even back in the 90s or even like the 2000s, Iceman was never like, oh man, we're getting a new Iceman. Gambit people love, Rogue people love, Jubilee people love. Iceman, I've never seen anyone be like, I am an Iceman fan. And I know one of you is going to write a comment down below or in our Twitch chat right now and be like, that's my favorite superhero, Benny.
Listen, the thing about X-Men is there is one for everybody. Like, there's a person out there who stands strong guy, and I get it, and I'm here for you. Iceman, my hope with the Fall of X overall is that it's well thought out and it means something and it sets up something that's as exciting, if not more exciting, than whatever the X is going to fall. And B, that the titles they announced are integral the way that they are for like Sins of Sinister and other X-Men related events. So like I'm hoping that this Iceman book isn't just like some vain attempt at putting out an Iceman book that nobody asked for. And moreover is like, no, Iceman is really important to the Fall of X, and here's how we're going to look at it. Because we're also getting, in the Fall of X, we're getting a book called Uncanny Spider-Man, which is a brand new title. We've never had it before. Yeah, it's on the list, and I'm like, it's not in this list, but it's in the list that came with the teaser. And I'm like, what does that mean? What is the Uncanny Spider-Man? Is it that Spider-Man is supposed to have a daughter who's a mutant? Is it that
Dark
there's
X-Men titles, yeah.
Yeah, and are we going to get like maybe Ben Reilly is a mutant or, and he's the Uncanny Spider-Man? I don't know, but, mysteries abound. I remember when they announced Superior Spider-Man, and I was like, what does that mean?
I just pulled up the whole list here, so we can go through the whole list of books.
Yeah, let's look at them.
First off, how do you feel about the Fall of X? People are like, oh my God, it's Jonathan Hickman's original plan, but it's just the middle. Like, we're not even at the end yet.
Are we not? Is the Fall of X not the end?
Apparently, on the original plan, now I once again have no idea where people are getting this from. I don't know if they're like, oh, Jonathan Hickman said it in an interview 4 years ago. Like, I mean, who knows where they're getting this from?
Yeah.
Because these are the same people that argued that when he left, that didn't mean he was leaving, even though he left and now he's doing new stuff. So,
yeah.
Hickman's back guy said he's not doing X-Men. Hey, what do you know? Benny was right. Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's getting to reinvent the gods of Marvel. Like, he's not touching this X-Men project.
He's done. They've strayed so far from what he was going to do. You know what? I'm sick of arguing with people, even though I've like literally talked to Hickman. But let's just
he decided he liked what they were doing better, and he left it. He literally left it. He left. He did it during Substack. He did all that. He did a digital comic, and he's coming back. Because guess what? It's been a year. It's going to be about a year when he starts his new project. So
exactly.
Hey, who was right? Anyway, I like rubbing salt in the wound about a year ago argument.
Just really bringing it.
Just to catch everyone up real quick, I used to argue with the X-Men fans that Hickman left because he didn't want to touch it anymore, and the argument was, no, he didn't. And I said, watch, he'll be back in a year, but his Substack deal comes to an end.
Yes.
So anyway, Fall of X is the middle arc, apparently, and it's going to have a whole bunch of these new stories. So first up, and I'm excited for this, they're bringing back Uncanny Avengers.
Yeah.
Jerry Dugan, one of my favorite Marvel writers, is doing this one. We got Cap, Rogue, and Deadpool, which was the three awesome ones of the original Uncanny Avengers.
Yes.
Then we've got Quicksilver. Yeah, it's Quicksilver. That's his name, right? Yeah. And then Psylocke, And then I don't know, but they're red with hair. Penance is who it is. It's up here.
Yes, thank you, Penance. Yeah, I was like, I know who she is.
I loved this
cool.
Uncanny Avengers book when they were running this. This is one of my favorite runs. This is the one where they ended up fighting against Pimtron.
Yes,
And that was kind of the end of it.
And Red Skull and Red Onslaught and stuff like that. Yeah,
They
this
did
is
such a
cover.
great run with this. The concept originally was Captain America wanted to make a team that had Avengers, had X-Men, and had and humans on it. I noticed no Inhumans on this iteration.
Yeah, and you never will see them. Well, they're dead. Kate's killed them years ago. They're gone. You're not gonna see them anymore.
This one I was shocked by because somebody who's been keeping up with X-Force and Wolverine, he ain't on here anymore.
No,
We got Laura now.
that's fine.
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm hyped.
But it also looks like Deadpool's taking front and center.
Good. It's about damn time.
Yeah. So X-Force needs a Wolverine. If Logan is walking away, they desperately need somebody to take his place. So this makes me wonder what's going to happen to Wolverine after this Dark Beast arc is done.
That's a great question. The Dark Beast arc. Not the character Dark Beast, but rather the beast that is dark. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. It looks really cool. You know, we're also getting Realm of X.
And then Immortal X-Men.
Good.
Yeah, this is just the X-Men books coming out. So X-Men, Astonishing Iceman, we just talked about. Wolverine's going to close out the dark of... I wonder if the fall of X is directly related to that Beast pulls as they kill him.
That would be neat.
Yeah, like he causes the fall of X.
I kind of love that. Like, because he's been doing all this to protect the X.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of awesome to see.
Children
okay
of
with
the
that.
Vault. I mean, he's right there.
Yeah, Children of the Vault, good idea. That's a great...
I like that they've gone back to the Vault a few times, and we're starting to get
Yes.
more and more of the Vault and all that stuff.
Yep, it's really cool.
Dark
I also-
X-Men? I
Yep,
don't know what
seen it.
that's implying. What's that
There's
going to have in it?
There's a cover for that, and that's going to be like Archangel and M-Plate from friggin' Generation X, and oh boy, there's a cover out there for it. Here we go, Dark X-Men. Madeline Pryor, Gambit, Havoc, M-Plate, Azazel, Archangel.
Well, anyway, Uncanny Avenger, we just talked about. Realm of X, you mentioned that one. What is that one going to be?
Realm of X, that I don't know. I think there is a book called that, or at least there was. Yeah, Realm of X, that's the magic one where it's like, when I say magic, I mean capital M magic. I don't know. My assumption is Realm of X is going to be something akin to what Excalibur was.
It looks like that's what it is. It's her going in.
Yeah, it's her and Danny, and but it also has like it looks like it has like the egg situation going. So I don't know. I don't.
Do you think they're going to end their resurrections finally?
That would make sense. A fall of X implies like a death or like a finality to it. So my assumption is that like the resurrection protocols are going to be either destroyed or threatened severely.
Right.
And, that'll be neat.
Trying to think. I got nothing for Uncanny Spider-Man.
No, I got nothing. It's just like, oh, what? Also, like, what? Spider-Man doesn't have anything to do with any of this.
So,
But
okay, well, that's that. And then, obviously, Spider-Man and Immortal X-Men. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see what Fall of X is going to be. As somebody who's
too.
been still... after everything we did with all of our X-Men discussions, Sal, I have stuck with X-Men, X-Force, and Wolverine. I've stuck with... Technically Deadpool, but he's off doing his own shit.
Literally not dealing with X-Men stuff at all. He's fighting Doc Ock and the Carnage and stuff. No, forget it. But yeah, no, and then listen, those are good books to read, especially if you want to like be plugged in. Wolverine is another one. If you're reading X-Force, you may want to be reading Wolverine.
Wolverine. They're so tied together at this point.
The Beast stuff is coming to a head. It's really it's ratcheting up, and that's going to be very exciting. But yeah, no, it's good stuff overall. And as much as I'm like sad to hear about the fall of X, I'm kind of like, if it's not the end, then I'm really excited. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, because
I feel like Fall of X is going to be the fall of Krakoa and their nation and everything they've built up. Like it's all finally ruined, and then we'll have the aftermath of kind of dealing with that.
Yeah, which could be really exciting. These are titles that contribute to the Fall of X, but maybe they are the titles that we get out of the Fall of X. The whole damn Krakoa initiative could have been just a springboard to build up an entire new audience of X-Men readers, so that when they're done with it, they're like, all right,
Yeah.
Here's the X-Men in the Marvel Universe again, or in the Marvel Universe, in as much as you're seeing them like doing
They're never going to be truly a part of it. Like they're always going to be like Spider-Man is in and not at the same time.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. He's too big a character for him to have any. Plus, like if Spider-Man creates a character or anything like that, you have to put him in the Sony owns him, so that you can't have anything big.
Well, you know what? I'm going to use that as a parlay to talk about our newest Sony-owned character, apparently.
Yeah.
Spider-Boy. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh my God, Spider-Boy.
I love what the community has done with Spider-Boy.
Oh, really?
Right? Have you seen what they've done? Let me see if I can find some of these. Hold on. This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
So what they've been doing is they've been retconning him into the history of Spider-Man. So for those who don't know, Spider-Boy was introduced in the end of Spider-Verse, and he was supposedly a character that's been around since the beginning as the sidekick of Spider-Man. This is my favorite, though. Walloping web snappers. Spidey, the Green Goblin, just threw Gwen off a bridge. If we don't do something, she's going to die. Hurry up. You have to catch her. Good idea. I can always counter your quick thinking, my young partner. I'll stop her from falling before she hits the ground. Way to go, Spidey. You must love those Spidey powers. Yeah, not only were the most dashing heroes on two legs. So Spider-Boy helped him kill Gwen Stacy.
I know, that's really funny. That's awesome. I hate this idea completely.
During when he goes missing because Kraven?
Yep. Don't worry, MJ will find him.
Don't worry, MJ will find him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is
awesome.
Spider-Boy is being so much more accepted in the community than Paul ever was.
Oh yeah.
There's no place on Earth where you can hide from me. My fists will do the rest. That's the face. Oh no, it can't be. Spider-Boy.
So now Spider-Boy appeared in his first appearance. The Spider-Boy is the one who killed Uncle Ben. Yeah. I don't know what Slot's obsession is with having Spider-Man have a sidekick, like when he did Alpha in the beginning and now Spider-Boy. Oh God, this is also
very
from
quiet. I
Kraven.
like it here. Peter Parker. Hey Pete, why are you naked? What? You are naked. Why? I don't think you could take your clothes when you die. Well, I did. What are you doing here? No idea, but this is boring. Let's get out of here.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't care about Bailey. I don't care about like Spider-Man having a sidekick. Spider-Man doesn't lend himself to having a sidekick. It's a terrible idea, and I think it's motivated by Spider-Gwen's success and nothing else, and it's horrible.
Right.
I don't really care, and I would be delighted if no one ever did anything with Bailey ever again. It'd be so funny if he showed up and he was like, "I've been here the whole time," and everyone's like, "No, you weren't."
Oh, and that was the joke?
Right, like just never again. Like no one ever uses that character ever again. They're obviously going to. Yeah.
At the grave. Pulls it off. It's Paul the whole
Spider-Boy is
Paul. Paul, for those of you who don't know, is the character that is currently dating MJ, so the Spider-Man community is not a fan.
That's awesome.
I'm surprised you didn't see these. They're floating around all over the place.
I know. I'm shocked my own self. I read the issue where Spider-Boy is there, but Spider-Boy.
Like there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Oh, this is because of me being a fan. It was me, Barry, Spider-Boy. Oh. Back at one more day. I want your love. I want your marriage. You gotta, Pete. It's the only way to save Aunt May. Make the deal. Trust me.
That is awesome. This is really funny.
Hey, I don't know you. I'll take care of that thug. You get those people out of here. I spy a cinder block with his name on it. Both of you get out of here now. Heads up. Uh-oh. Sorry, Pete. My aim's a little off. You're good, right? Hitting with the cinder block.
This is awesome.
Yes.
This is the only time I ever want to see Bailey is in these scenes here.
These memes?
Yeah.
Why don't you join me, say, for $1 million? $1 million? This Skull guy has a lot of good ideas. We should do it, Spidey.
I feel like this is definitely just one person. It's just like, I hate this character. Let me meme him into the ground.
Oh, get away from me. Leave me alone. And he hits
my God.
MJ.
Yeah.
Peter warned you, MJ. You should have listened. This is your fault. Don't worry, Pete. I'm here for you.
This is ridiculous.
It's like all over the Reddit. It's so great. I love it.
That's so great. Yes, applause.
So, I mean, I'm not going to keep pulling up all these because for
No.
anyone listening on the audio, we just pulled up a whole bunch of memes that we didn't really explain that
Right,
well.
of Spider-Boy.
But,
Oh, that's awesome.
but yeah, he's so well, like, I don't know if they're accepting him or they're just memeing on him. I can't figure it out at this point.
Right,
Like,
yeah, no, it's like, I don't even know. That's really funny. Like, I don't even know if you mean what you say. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah, Spider-Boy, though, I agree. I hope this is like a plot point and not like, this is your sidekick now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I hope it's something else for him to introduce.
Well, no, thankfully, no one remembers him. And so, and out of frustration, he just leaves. But
Right,
he's still
Andy and I
bouncing
were
around
laughing about that earlier. He's like, guys, I'm your sidekick and I died for you. Who are you? Ah, screw you.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
And then the entire group of spider people are on the rooftop and they don't know. All right, we'll figure him
there
out
he
later.
goes. Yeah. Okay.
Didn't he seem kind of young? Maybe we should go see what's up with that.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man is Spider-Boy is a bit weird.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
Next piece of news we have is that Red Hood Webtoons comic is bringing back Silencer, one of those heroes that came in the new age of heroes. I think she's the only,
Yes.
her and Sideways are the only two to survive, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. People liked Silencer. I thought the book was okay. So, out of all of them, Damage. People really like Damage for some reason too. So that's another one I
Because he was
get.
Hulk, and Hulk hasn't been Hulk in forever.
Well, that's true.
I mean, even Immortal Hulk, which was incredible,
Yes.
wasn't Hulk. It wasn't like classic Hulk where he gets
No, it
mad.
didn't. Yeah, very different.
Yeah. And the new one, I mean, everyone hated it so much that the writer left. I'm assuming that's why, but
Yeah.
we're not going to go into that. It's all speculation. We don't know why.
Yes, it's
but,
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was just caught up in the current Hulk run from Donny
Yeah.
Cates and Ryan Stegman. That wasn't Ryan Stegman. It was Otley.
Otley, yes.
Yes. And it's not bad. It's just not Hulk. It doesn't. I feel like the problem with this is that it shouldn't follow up Immortal Hulk.
No.
The story is
yeah.
because you're going through such a stark contrast of Banner and Hulk, where they've accepted each other, they could live forever, everything's good, and now Banner made him into a robot. Like what?
Yeah, it's very weird. I got no arguments with that. It's just kind of like, it's very. If you loved Immortal Hulk, you're probably not gonna like this, and if you, it's okay. I liked Smash Not as much as I don't really care. I'm not a huge Hulk fan, so like for me, if you're gonna do that, like okay, he'll be back to normal in no time.
Yep.
Like that. I think that's the thing. Like people are, people assume that I'm a Spider-Man fan, so when things happen to Spider-Man, I'm like, oh my god, this has changed forever. Not thinking out loud about the fact that like it'll be back to normal. The problem is with Spider-Man, it tends to stick. No pun intended. With Hulk, it's like, you can put him in space, you can put him under the ground, you can make him immortal, you can make him a smash not in between dimensions. You can make him smart and dumb and multicolored, and like, eventually he'll just be green and angry again. Like, because that's at the core of who the Hulk is. Hulk is big, powerful, and green, and he just wants to be left alone. That's what you want to do with the Hulk. And but the problem is when you do too many like things that are the same, people tend to get bored and complacent, and they don't buy the book as a result. So, like,
I mean, that's the big issue. That's why we don't just get the exact same thing everyone wanted. Like one thing that's been irritating about the Spider-Man fandom based on that is, I hate the line of Spider-Man wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like right now we got Spider-Man. They're finally revealing what's going on with Paul, MJ, and all that other stuff, right? They're feeling what he did, and they're like, well, he's acting out of character. He didn't explain things to Johnny and Thing. He didn't explain things to Cap. He just went over and did.
Yeah.
And I agree, but the problem is Spider-Man's been written by different people since the 60s.
Yes.
Spider-Man, there's a version of Spider-Man in your head that you think Spider-Man's supposed to be, and it's going to be different from the version that Sal thinks he should be, and I think he should be. I have my favorite. My favorite was actually the Dead Slot Spider-Man. I liked that portrayal and that attitude and the way he did that. But once a new writer takes over, they're not going to – there's no way possible for them to write the exact same way as the previous writer. They're going to do what they think Spider-Man would do.
Yeah.
So that's why I always tell people when your writer leaves – the version you know about the character is over.
Yes.
Like when Tom King left Batman, that Batman was over. It's done.
Yes. And there are certain characters. The problem, there's so many issues across the board when it comes to like definitive runs on characters and fan expectations of said character. Like with Batman, everyone the last 3 or 4 writers on Batman have all approached it from Grant Morrison's perspective, which is like, you got to do a birth and a death. You got to begin it and end it. And it's like, what a weird, and very specific way to handle a character. And Daredevil's like that too, where you can just read runs. Like, people are like, oh man, I like Daredevil. Can I read it from Daredevil number 1 onward? Like, yeah, you're going to find that, it's going to shift in tone significantly.
Very heavily.
Ann Nocenti's run is going to be very different from Charles Soule's run, from Frank Miller's run, from
I liked Frank Miller's Daredevil and liked no other Daredevil until Chip Zdarsky.
It took me a long time to like Daredevil until I read. I mean, I loved because I did not like D.G. Chichester's run from the 90s. I really liked Frank Miller's run, and I really liked Zdarsky's run. I loved Wade on that book with Somni. And Wade has done a pretty significantly good job on Daredevil as well, but very different. It's a completely different tone. So that one feels like they're very much is like, this is where Matt begins for this writer, and then Matt dies basically, and you get a new Matt at the end of that, like at the beginning of the next run. It's tough to do that with Spider-Man but with Hulk, you could line up every different version of the Hulk. Gray, red, blue, he's gray, he's smart, he's stupid, he's a smastronaut. He's astronaut. There's a difference between Professor Hulk and Smart Hulk. There's a difference between Banner
Doc
Hulk
Green.
And Doc
Green's
exactly.
a different Smart Hulk.
Exactly. There's Clue, and then there's the other one from the Donny Cates run. There's versions of the Hulk and Immortal Hulk, and at the end of the day, they all are big, muscular, and will smash things. So what are you complaining about? From Marvel's perspective. But I think that all roads eventually lead to the original status quo. The issue, I think, comes where there's two issues with that. Number one, they don't live in it too long, and number two, sometimes you don't get back to it because the new writer is so busy trying to set up the next status quo, and that's the real problem. So
a great example to bring back to Spider-Man again. So I love Dan Slott, and if you read Dan Slott's 10, 12 years of Spider-Man, it's a coherent, full story that ends with him becoming rich and a millionaire and giving it all up to be back to Spider-Man. Yes. And then Nick Spencer immediately wanted to set up his thing with the superior villains and then dealing with Kindred, and that was a different Spider-Man from what Dan Slott did. Yeah. And then when Nick Spencer ended, we went into the Spider-Man Beyond era, which was a 100% different Spider-Man, totally different attitude. That was the Peter Parker whose own spider sense took him out. Yeah. And he acted differently as well, where he was battling against Ben and he didn't want to talk to Ben for 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And now we're at Zeb Wells' run, where he's a little bit more brash. He kind of doesn't really want to talk things out. Yep. He's dealing with Norman Osborn as a friend. He's not trying to fight for Mary Jane, and we don't know what's going on. And these are all different and wholeheartedly different portrayals of Spider-Man.
Yes.
I feel like Nick Spencer just kept beating down Spider-Man. He just kept tearing him down over and over and over, which is very similar to how Scott Snyder did Batman for 5 years. And he gave him an ending. He killed Batman.
He did.
And then he came back and did an epilogue with Last Night on Earth. But for 5 years, we had this jokey kind of Batman. It was beautiful art by Greg Capullo. Yes. Then we went into Tom King's dissection of Batman as a hero for 4 years.
Yeah, and you would argue they're completely different characters, basically. Yeah. The Tom King Batman is very different from the Batman of Scott Snyder. The two, Tom and King and Snyder's Batman are basically the two different characters. But they also represent, people's definitive versions of that character.
Yeah. Oh, no, and that's what I get at that's what it bothers me when I hear people say, Peter wouldn't act like that.
Right.
Because
your Peter would never do that.
Right. Yeah. Your Peter, the one in your head, wouldn't act that way. Because I can tell you right now, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland all act like different Peters. They all do different things.
Well, and I can point to, the thing is, I don't like this run, but I also can point to many issues where Peter swung first and asked questions later. I can point to many issues where Peter was brash and stupid and bullheaded and didn't listen to his friends and went into the arms of a villain to do it. And I've seen it a lot, and I've seen it before. The problem, I think, is that most fans read these books from the point when they started reading it and see it as a straight line, and watching it he's grown, he's learned, and he's done all these things, and he's been there. Why would he act like he did 30 years ago? And it's because the guy who wrote it is 30 years older, and he wants to write his version, and his version was from back then.
I mean, to add to that, even throwing manga out the window, because manga, as we know, is a linear storytelling for the most part. Let's say classic books. What about classic stories like Sherlock Holmes? He grows, he evolves, he goes to the next thing, or James Bond and stuff like that. That's what people are expecting when they jump into comics, to go with what you're saying.
Yes.
They're expecting like he's going to remember what he did. But when you read those books about Sherlock Holmes or James Bond, a lot of times that's the same writer. Like I bought all the Assassin's Creed books, and they're all by one guy.
Right.
Like one guy did them all. So there could be character and growth. But like when Brian Michael Bendis took over for Superman, he didn't go read every Superman book and be like, all right, well, he already did that. Check. He already did this. Check. No, Brian Michael Bendis said, well, if I start mine back in 1940 Superman, then nothing's happened.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny to speak to the like Sherlock Holmes point, like Batman, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four have had way more adventures than Sherlock Holmes at this point.
Yeah.
And Arthur Conan Doyle wanted to end it. He was like, "Oh, this has been way too long. I think it's time to wrap up the Sherlock Holmes thing. I think it's been way too long." And it's like, well, what if Sherlock Holmes was 100 years old? Like, what if we told stories for another 100 years?
Yeah.
He would lose his mind. He'd be like, "Oh, how could you possibly have that many stories to tell?" And it's like, well, look at superheroes. Batman and Spider-Man have completely outlasted and outclocked the amount of Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yeah.
And and I guess like the original creators aren't around to talk about it.
Part of the problem and why Peter's acting the way he is, and I want to say I don't mind Zeb Wells' run. I don't think it's. I think the problem I have with Zeb Wells' run is he wanted Peter to act this way.
Right.
And instead of giving us that growth to get there, he decided to make that the mystery.
Yeah.
Like why is he acting this way? Oh, you'll find out at issue 20. I feel like that was a terrible storytelling decision.
Yes.
Because you've hyped up some big moment. And so far, that moment is not paying off.
Yeah.
It's just like MJ stuck in an alternate universe. And the problem is, if you take everything that has ever happened to Spider-Man since the 60s, and you're like, well, he should remember all of these, you don't have stories to tell. Like, or you'll get so creative that I'm 100% wrong. But I don't. The problem is, most of these have been done with these characters.
Yeah.
Anyway, bringing it back around to Silencer from Red Hood.
Yes. I can't believe they're using these. I mean, like, you know what? Cool. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so what's the idea? Silencer's going to be in the book?
She's going to be in it. I've been reading that Red Hood webtoons, and it literally just continues the Dark Trinity storyline, and it's awesome.
Oh, nice.
It's got some weird moments, and I love it because I brought up the idea that, they're not acting like they're supposed to, because I go read the webtoons comments on the webtoons that I'm reading, and the comments are funny. Jason wouldn't have done that. Bizarro wouldn't have done that. Like, who said they wouldn't have? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
But generally, it's been pretty good. There's a couple of moments that the fans are disliking, but if you're reading the Red Hood webtoons, it's all mostly positive. So it's really good if you liked Dark Trinity. Now, if you don't like Dark Trinity, Sal, don't bother getting it.
I'm not.
It's not going to be fancy. Also,
right.
I feel like more issues as the tonic come out than Red Hood, because I don't know why, but
okay.
All right, moving forward, Samuel L. Jackson. This is how sparse our news was today, guys. Samuel L. Jackson admits that he doesn't read much Marvel, but is actually a DC Comics fan.
Yeah, and James Gunn is like, I'm sorry, what? You say you like DC, huh? Well, that sounds pretty terrific of you.
I wonder, dude, could you picture him going over, just sliding on over to DC side?
Easily.
Who would Sam Jackson be, though?
The problem, I mean, I would love for him to play Mr. Terrific, but he's too old. Unless they were like, how many Mr. Terrific movies are we going to make? We'll just,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, he could, there's all kinds of elder statesmen that he could be, like he could be first generation Black Lightning. He could be like a variant on, Calvin Ellis or Val Zod. Like, that'd be kind of neat. I don't know.
Calvin Ellis would be interesting.
Right?
You just see him as Superman. You think he'd take the deal?
Sure.
Hey, do you want to do like a one-off where you're Calvin Ellis, the Superman president?
Right? No. You're the president and Superman. He'd be like, sign me the F up.
Can I drop F-bombs? Because I will.
Right. And they're like, yeah, we're DC. Of course.
Next up, we got, shockingly, El Muerto is still at a standstill.
Yeah, remember when Sony was going to make an El Muerto movie starring no one?
Apparently, it hasn't even started production yet because Dan put it. It's super surprising considering the writers are still probably trying to figure out who the character who appeared in 3 comics actually even is.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. it's so like nakedly transparent in its terribleness, like. Because who's playing El Muerto? I think the idea is like there's some
Bad
like,
Bunny, I thought.
Bad Bunny or whatever the hell. Like, so clearly they're like, we want to put this bunny character into our movies. Like, we want to give him a vehicle, like a franchise. Yeah. Even though all they have to do is wait like a year and no one will care who that is and move on. But like, by the time the movie comes out, no one will even care who that is. But
I mean, Craven's still being delayed.
I know. Sony continuing a series of terrible decisions that cost millions of dollars. El Muerto is just like, it's one of those things where they should just go, guys, like, does anybody even really want to make this? Like, does anybody want to make these? Because, like,
I wonder if they're rethinking it after the Morbius debacle.
I mean, like, after Morbius failed and after Craven fails, do you think Sony is just going to go, all right, the culture has spoken. Nobody wants these. I mean,
right.
I genuinely hope that they do, because, it's interesting. We could tie this into another larger conversation, which is that, like, we over on Absolutely Marvel and DC, we talked about the Marvels trailer and how, like, it's a fun looking trailer,
Yeah.
and it's hyping it up. But there's a moment in it where Kamala says, like, is this Avengers training? And I'm like, who even is an Avenger in the MCU anymore? And from the Disney Plus shows to the current crop of movies to the, like, lackluster reaction to Secret Wars, which is mind-bending. Secret Wars should be, like, people should be frothing at the mouth for this movie. And it's like, Kang Dynasty is going to be written by the same person who made a failure of an Ant-Man movie. Like, yippee. And I'm like, at this point, there is no, like, divining rod or tether to get people rallied and excited for the MCU. And it's interesting how the MCU
6 Avengers.
Right. Like, the MCU
I looked up the current roster.
Oh, yeah?
It is Bruce Banner Hulk is technically alive and still on the team.
Really?
Clint Barton Hawkeye is technically alive and still on the team.
What?
James Rhodes War Machine is technically alive and still on the team. Sam Wilson is on the team.
Yes. Sam Wilson
Carol
is on
Danvers
the team.
is in Ant-Man.
Okay. You will never see that lineup in an Avengers movie.
No, because that's just the remnants of, like, Tony's dead, Steve is dead,
Thor ain't coming back.
Thor ain't coming back. He's joined the Guardians after the Battle of Earth. Natasha died in the time heist. Pietro killed by
dead.
Ultron.
Wanda's dead, or at
Wanda's
least
dead
not going to
or
be
evil.
here.
It's one of the two.
Wanda's dead or evil. Either way, not an Avenger
Vision's
anymore.
not the same Vision.
Vision's White Vision looking
Spider-Man left for independence.
Spider-Man is not owned by Marvel.
Yeah.
And
Nebula is back on the back on the Guardians.
Yep.
And Rocket's back in the Guardians. So.
Yeah. And they were never Avengers to begin with.
No,
But
they were like stand-ins.
they were there. They don't have, like, a big deal, and they don't have a character that, like, is the narrative through line for the new phase, for the new, like, period.
Yeah.
And so they need to figure that out. And unfortunately, like, there isn't enough. Like, it could be Sam, and that would be very nice. But I don't think it is, and I don't think it will be. It could be any of the new characters, like, Kate Bishop or Kamala.
I mean, this is what we talked about. We don't have that bit. We don't have the Iron Man, Captain America, Thor.
And they
combo.
do, but it would cost them a couple $1 billion, and it's Spider-Man. The fact is, they need to get their heads out of their asses and buy Spider-Man. Like,
or at least make the deal so they can just keep using him properly and have him show up.
And use him without any caveats, without any, like, how many is this and how much can we use, and can we use, like, we can use Ned Leeds, we can't use Genki, so we'll make Genki but call him Ned Leeds. Like, every character in the Home trilogy is a cracked mirror version of those characters, and I genuinely think it's because as part of the deal, they're like, you can use those characters, but you can't make them look distinctly like a Sony version of that character, because a Sony version can make a pure version of that character, but you got to make, like, a special cracked mirror version of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the motivation was to make everybody just like what is that? But that's how it is. They need to be able to, like, make a deal where it's because the fact is, I don't think there has been a Marvel character since the end of the Endgame era to make $1 billion outside of Spider-Man.
I was like, outside Spider-Man, yeah.
And there won't be. And That's where we are.
It's like we said before. The problem is they got rid of all the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Iron
Yeah.
Man can't show up and carry another movie with a cameo. You can't link this. You can't take Shang-Chi and have like Banner was at the end of that. It wasn't even a Hulk form. He had an arm that was like this and that went away.
Well, it's confused. Like the timeline is also confused. Like, so Banner's got his bum arm, but he doesn't anymore. And we didn't explain what that post-credit scene, like when that takes place. They don't have a plan. Oh, Doctor Strange, I forgot about him. He should be like Doctor Strange should be the Iron Man, and he's not, and they're not, and he's being used to ill effect.
Yeah. Why was
And
he
it's
on
like-
this list?
Because he's not really an Avenger, I guess, but like,
Oh yeah, I
isn't
guess he
he-
never technically joined, did he?
right? But
Because these are people who joined the team. At
yeah,
some
these are
point.
people who are, or at least by their namesake, are technically Avengers. And Spider-Man is like, it's the biggest one, and it's the one that they have the closest ability to make happen, because the others outside of the X-Men are not surefire hits.
Yeah.
You know, the hype around Reed Richards being in Multiverse of Madness died down very quickly, and only because it was John Krasinski, not because it was Reed Richards. And it's like, hopefully Fantastic Four works out. I hope it does. I want Fantastic Four to be a AAA franchise. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But it's the closest thing they have, and it's an unsure thing. They're still in the middle of writing the effing script. And
You can tell they're scrambling, that they're looking for that next big thing that'll be the through line, because they're like,
Right,
well, it's going
and
to be
it's like-
Kang. But the first
Right.
Kang movie, real appearance, didn't really pay off like they were hoping.
No, it didn't. And they just, you need to have some sure things. And now that you have, what's the point of having a full house and having all this stuff if you can't use it or if you're refusing to use it?
Yeah.
Like, and X-Men is we're still like 10 years away or 5 years away from like real X-Men content. And it's like, that's nuts. That's nuts, especially when you have proven that your alternate options are not like they were. What's funny about that is, like, you know, the MCU is built on B-list characters, on B-list heroes, right? Because it's like it's Iron Man, it's Thor, it's Captain America. These were, and I'm sorry, but they were in the comics B-list heroes. B.
Oh, no, they were. Like, that was the issue. Marvel had Wolverine and Spider-Man. They're not using Wolverine. And they're not getting back Spider-Man.
Well, they sold off the characters that they thought were A-list, which includes Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and, like, you know, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, and stuff like that. But, like, those are B characters. And then, after they built up the B characters to be A characters, they then wiped them off the freaking map. So now what they have left is D-list characters. Like, they got Moon Knight. And they botched it.
Yeah,
and I gotta tell you,
the
like,
problem is that they could have made Moon Knight like the thing. It could have.
they
been.
could have made. Yeah, they could have been a
You
big
literally had Egyptian Batman.
thing. Right.
Like, and you could have done the whole dissociative identity disorder. You could have done all of that.
Batman.
And you could, like, there's a reason why people think he's Batman. You could have leaned into that.
Yeah, you like Marvel, because, like, what's frustrating is, like, you know, there's a moment in Eternals, which is another movie that, like, I happen to like, but I also appreciate that, like, nobody does. And it's also, I told them, I said it when they were like, we're making Eternals. I'm like, what a bad idea, what a mistake, and I was right.
They
But,
made their Justice League, basically, and
they made their Justice League. Eternals is almost them going, we could do that. Like, here's a speedster, here's a cyborg, here's a Batman, here's a Superman. Like, we could do that. And they did. And, like, listen, whether you like it or not, they portray their powers and their abilities really, really expertly. Like, Eternals looks really good.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, like, eat DC's lunch, you should have made a Batman movie starring Moon Knight.
yeah.
Like, just be like, this is how you make a Batman movie. Like, just literally to go like, this is how we make a Batman movie. Like, and look, Moon Knight and Batman are not one-to-one. I'm saying cosmetically, thematically, like, you could have made it like a dark, brooding, atmospheric, well-executed superhero franchise movie about a character who covers his face and wears a cape and punches criminals. That's Batman.
Doesn't inherently seemingly have powers. He uses a lot of gadgets. I mean,
With gadgets and vehicles.
Yeah.
That's cosmetically Batman. You could have just done that, and it could have worked.
Yep.
But
Because you could have portrayed it as being Batman. Then when you go see it, you see that it's not Batman. That it's this Egyptian superhero.
Yeah, then you're like, whoa! Like, this is like Batman, but like it could be my Batman.
Yeah.
'Cause everybody else loves Batman. Now it's mine. You know, like Iron Man became for people, where it's like, that's Iron Man's my superhero now, because, like, nobody knows who he is, by and large, in the movie going populace, not the comic book reading populace. You know, it's like, it's frustrating because, like, there are ways around their problems and their pitfalls, and they dug their own grave. And the obvious solutions for getting out of it are being more creative and spending more money. And it's like, just get the Spider-Man situation under control so that you can like lean on it, because whether you like it or not, Spider-Man is Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is the logo.
And they're losing Mickey Mouse next year, so...
Yeah, they're losing Steamboat Willie. Oh, no. I'm sure they'll be fine. But, it's just like, that's the solution isn't... And I'm not saying I want the MCU to be called the, like, Spider-Man cinematic universe. Like, I want Spider-Man to take over the MCU. But, like, he should have been in the skyline in the Falcon Winter Soldier show.
Yep.
Just
You just do quick cameos. He could be all over the place, because everyone's in New York again, and you could just have Spider-Man going around.
Right. But the fact that he isn't means that they couldn't. And I remember reading somewhere they said, like somebody on production said, like, we wanted Spider-Man to show up in this one thing, and they said no. They said no. And I'm like, well, if they said no, it's because they weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
And they need to untie their hands with that, because that's good. I mean, look, that's what gets people to show up. And it's a big deal of a character, and it's a big deal of a franchise, and you could have easily made some money out of that. But X-Men, Spider-Man, and making better quality pictures is the way to fix it. And they're just like, ugh. So, I'm hopeful that this is indicative of that direction before they have to start making some X-Men movies and stuff.
Right.
Because Wolverine's going to be the same deal. You better cast a young dude to play Wolverine, because he's going to have to be in everything.
Yeah. I want that to be where we're at. I want to see Wolverine of Spider-Man and everything. I want to see them hyping it all up. I want Wolverine to be back to where he was when he was at his peak. Not when they killed him and he's just gone.
Isn't it weird how, like, Wolverine was the biggest effing thing from his creation until he died?
Yeah.
Like, and even then, like, Wolverine was a big deal. Like, they got away with killing him off because Wolverine fever had waned. But do you think that Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and Wolverine's popularity from the movies helped to, like, continue Wolverine's popularity from the comics into, like, the rest of the world? Because, like, I knew a lot of kids when I was a kid who didn't read comic books but thought Wolverine was dope.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I mean, when I was a kid, I think it was Wolverine as Spider-Man 2099 that sucked me into comics. Like, beyond my dad introducing me to Superman. Right. I want to say it was Spider-Man because I liked Nightfall Batman.
Oh, sure.
You could tell that in the 90s I was that
He's
edgy
cool looking.
Yeah.
No, trust me. No, that's a good idea.
I'm pretty sure those are the 3 books that I would go buy. And I never knew what was going on in Wolverine because Wolverine was always so interconnected to so much stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. But after Wolverine came back, and I think we did a whole episode about this, so I don't want to dwell too much on it, but, like, after Wolverine came back, he came back less. It's like if you had a graph of, like, Wolverine fever, and then they killed him / they stopped making Wolverine movies. When he came back like at half popularity.
Yeah, I want to look this up, actually.
Right, and they're just like, I think that, like, they need a push to make Wolverine a big deal again, and I think that, like, they need to lean into it because Wolverine is inherently cool, like, objectively speaking.
Yeah.
You could write an algorithm on how cool Wolverine is, and it's weird that he isn't, or that he isn't a known quantity. Like, if you put Wolverine on the cover of your comic book, you are guaranteed like a 4% bump. I don't know if that's true. I'm just making up numbers, but I'm just saying, like, we know that, if you put Batman on the cover of a Green Arrow book, Green Arrow sales are going up a little bit.
Yeah.
But with Marvel, and I think that's because Marvel drove it into the ground. Like, if you put Spider-Man on the cover, it should guarantee some sales boosts, and I'm sure it does. But, I think they overdid it. But with Wolverine, he's the same deal. You put Wolverine on the cover, holy crap, people are excited. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just there's ways around it to fix it. It's just like, I don't know. They're not. It's like either they're focused on other priorities or they're not thinking about the obvious solutions.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap up today's podcast here. I know we were going to talk about Chip Zdarsky's Batman and our opinions on it,
but you got to go.
Well, I got to go, but it also technically has another issue. So it's not like we have to rush to it now.
Yeah. Yes, and I've heard good things about where it's going. So I'm like,
but we can make it real quick. Just now, after coming out of Failsafe, I thought Failsafe was incredible for Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing with this. Like, I think that, like, I get you don't like Multiversal Joker. I'm okay with that. Seeing another version of Catwoman, seeing another version of Harvey.
I've been on board, but it's just like this one, the most recent issue was a little bit of a slip for me. I'm like, this is not as
I want to know
great
what
as
he's
it
going to do with
should've
him cutting his hand off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Batman just
I mean,
lost his hand.
yeah, that. And
But we're going to have 135 to wrap up this, and then it's going to be Batman #1 again for Dawn of the
Really?
Sea. Yeah, they're resetting Batman to 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they
Don't do that.
either that or I saw a cover that's not real, but it was from the artist doing the cover, and he's like, "Here's the Batman #1 cover," and I'm like, "So you are going to reset Batman back to #1?"
Okay. Great.
So what that tells me is every comic book is getting reset back to a #1 with a legacy numbering.
Makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, like, it makes sense in as much as I get that why that look, that's the nature of the business now.
Oh yeah, it is. They want to do fresh #1s. Tells you where to start. Everyone's always like, "Where do I start?" I just tell them grab a #1, and that's a run. Just stick with it. So
Well, and like I think Flash and Wonder Woman are both hitting 800. So, and they're also doing a reboot to #1s / legacy numbers. So,
well,
yeah.
for those who are wondering, the #1s is for the casuals.
Yes.
Like they legacy number these. That's how like Detective would go reset back in New 52. But now it's 1050 something. Like it just they keep track of the original numbers. They go back to them. That when it says #1, it's literally just being like, "Hey, normies, check out Batman #1." That's all.
Yeah,
it is.
just started a new arc. Yeah.
So, but we're going to wrap up today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for Absolute Comics. My name is Benny. That is Sal. Check out Comic Storian and check out Comic Pop. Pop! I had a joke. I don't know where I was going with that. Hey, Comic Pop
all
fans. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time right here.